this. It's really nice to have you on here, man. How would you introduce yourself for someone who may not know you?
So, yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Louis. I'm 19 years old. I have I would say I'm an entrepreneur. I have a window washing business up in Canada, and then I also do like social media stuff and, yeah, content creation. I post. I'm big into health and fitness and stuff like that too. Um, but yeah, that's like a general overview. I'm sure we're gonna get into some
Mm,
details here.
yeah, I want to get into all that later, but how did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
So I grew up in Yukon, which is in Canada, right beside Alaska, like literally right beside it. So it's very cold, really small town. There's like 30,000 people who live there. Um, that's kind of the environment. And then, I had a great family. My parents support me a lot right now. Like they see the vision, they support the vision, which is
Yep.
great. And they were always like kind of on board with me not necessarily going the normal route of like college and stuff like that. And yeah, I grew up very active, a lot of sports, playing a lot of soccer, and then kind of transitioned from that into more gym and running and stuff like that, jujitsu. So yeah, bro, that's the
Mm.
general.
What did you want to
Oh,
do when you were a kid? Like, when did you realize you don't want to go to a regular, college 9 to 5 route, and that'd be all of it, like most people do?
um, I mean, when I was a kid, I honestly had no idea. I've got two decently, like, my parents are not like rich whatsoever. Like my dad was actually working with us washing windows, and then my mom helps like kids with disabilities. But I had two pretty wealthy uncles, and so when I was growing up, I was like, I definitely want to start a business and be an entrepreneur and stuff like that. But I kind of thought that it was just going to fall into my lap without me really doing anything. And then, dude, honestly, when Andrew Tate got really popular, like
Mm.
3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. I joined his Hustlers University and just kind of started trying a bunch of stuff. I tried like honestly everything to make quick money, but I didn't stick with anything long term. And the first
Mm.
thing that I kind of had some success with was the actual window washing.
Mm.
And then later, like a year later, I started building the personal brand. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you, like, did you try a lot of things like earlier, but you kind of answered that. I also was inside of the real world. I made my first few $100, through freelancing and
Okay.
all of that. But how did you even get into window washing? How did that idea even come up?
Yeah. So this was like the summer after I was trying like copywriting and Hustlers University stuff. Um, and I was still in school, so it wasn't like I was really full time. I was kind of just like half assing it. And then me and some of my boys were like we were just thinking about ideas of like how we can start businesses and do whatever. And then one of my boys' dads gave us the idea of window washing, and I was like,
Mm.
dude, that's crazy. Like people pay for that. People probably don't. I don't. Are there window washers where you live?
I mean, in big houses, I suppose, but I don't know.
Hmm.
I suppose, yeah. I suppose there's
Okay.
everywhere like this service. Like window washing is like something that some people like actually need the service. So I imagine.
Yeah. Well, no one really needs it. It's more
Uh,
of like a luxury, right?
I
But
mean,
then I kind
if
of
you think about
researched
it,
it.
like if you have like a 2 or 3 story house, if you have a big house, you don't want to like it might take you an hour, 2 hours a day, like cleaning
Of
all the
course.
windows, like if you when you clean them. So maybe you want to save time. I suppose like people that have a lot of money, they want to save that time. But yeah, not
Totally.
everybody needs that. A lot of people can do it themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's why people get it, right? Because they don't want to do it. Especially now, like no one wants to do anything, so there's like a lot of opportunity. And like,
That's so true.
yeah. Um, Well, yeah, basically, my dad's or my friend's dad gave us the idea. I started kind of researching it. I was like, dang, you can do this with literally $100, less than $100 of equipment, mop, squeegee, bucket, soap, and towels. And I went to the store with my dad. He actually bought it for me back then. It was like $60 for like really basic equipment. Then I printed a bunch of these little flyers at my school and then put them around downtown. And that was like my first summer. This was 2022. And so I did 5 jobs that summer.
Mm.
But it was a good, like, getting my foot in the door,
Yeah, holy shit. I mean, yeah, that's a really good like. Um, did you start with the idea that this is gonna be only a side hustle in the beginning?
100%. Yeah.
So, how did you get the first clients in the beginning? Like with the posters, etc., or did you have any other like lead magnet?
No, I wasn't even on social media. I didn't have my
Mm.
Google My Business. I had nothing. I wasn't even door knocking that back then. Where, so yeah, it was just those little flyers that I printed at school, put them
Oh, and
around,
this
dropped them in
door knocking
mailboxes.
still work to this day.
Oh, of course. That's where we get
Great.
like 50% of our business. Over 50, yeah. And it's really,
Interesting.
it works really well because you do one job and then you go talk to the neighbor. And so you're already there. And
Oh
so you
shit.
can anchor the price higher and then say, because we're already here, we'll knock this much off for transportation. And it's like
Mm.
you do the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, technically you build more rapport because it's with the neighbor who already kind of knows you, so that's like a good idea.
Of
You
course.
live right now in Miami, right? Your business is based in Canada still.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you started in Canada. Um, did you ever like expand to the U.S. or like think about it?
Nah, not
No.
yet. Maybe in the future,
Mm.
I think I want to stay in home services and grow the company decent amount, at least for the next couple of years.
Mm.
I also want to build like other stuff around the home service niche, like more like agency services or software and stuff like that. But right now, I'm just in
Mm.
Miami for like the winter, kind of for the second half of the winter. And
Yeah.
then I'll probably be going back there for in like a couple months to kickstart the business for spring.
Mm. Yeah. That
Yeah.
that's it's interesting. So what's Miami like?
I mean, I'm in Brickell. You know where Brickell
Mm.
is?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Brickell is like the center of like
Mm.
the whole Miami thing, So it's a beautiful town, beautiful city, really good weather. But it's very, very fast paced, Like when you're
Mm.
walking, it's like everyone's just like doing their own thing. You can tell that everyone's like probably decently important, or at least everyone's important to themselves. And it's like, yeah, really fast pace. The people, like, it is very, for the most part, I would say it's pretty superficial,
Mm.
but you do meet some cool people. Well, I think it's kind of superficial because it's like a huge part of it is just like a race to make more money and more status and stuff like that.
Mm.
But like when you actually talk to people, really good people, really, really good for networking. Like I've met a lot of young entrepreneurs who are doing like 6 figures a month and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, great. I don't think I could do it like full time, just because it's just so quick. But if you want to lock
Uh,
in, yeah, definitely pull up.
yeah. And it's crazy also how like I'm 17 still. I'm about to turn 18. It's crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm kind of late. Like basically, like still like there are like fucking 16-year-old making 50K a month, 60K a month.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like I should be there already like a year ago, and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever like had this feeling or it's just me, but you feel like holy shit, there are guys that are years younger than me are doing well, way better than me. Like, did you
Of
ever feel
course.
like you're behind at some point? Because I do all the time.
Yeah, you feel behind when you compare yourself to people who are doing much better than you, right? That's like
Mm.
basically as simple as it gets. If they're your like similar age and stuff like that, like I got a boy here that I met in my building who's 19,
Mhm.
who's had like multiple 6 figure profit months just posting TikToks and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But I I don't think you can compare your success to someone else's success. Like, yeah, you can use it as fuel, but truth is, they've had a completely different story than you. They've probably done way more work than you, like in the grand scheme of
Mm.
things. And that's like really the only difference is they locked in harder. Um, yeah. And maybe some circumstances, which is why you can't like allow yourself to comparing,
Yeah.
because comparison, by definition, if you're comparing yourself to someone higher, it lowers you and it lowers your frequency. So
Oh,
use it
yeah.
as fuel, right?
That's true. Mm. You know, I feel like a lot of guys, and I am in the whole crypto space, right? But
Yeah.
I'm an insider on a coin. I'm not like bro gambling on meme coins because I feel like a lot of
Right.
guys what they're trying to do is be, catch the next chill guy, right? Put in five
Of
dollars
course.
and make it turn to 300K overnight. And I feel like even in the best case scenario where that happens, I personally think that it's better to like move up from 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month, and step up the ladder because that makes you understand the money better and also makes you handle it better. But what do you think about what are the main changes you notice when you start making more and more money? And maybe your behavior, the way you look at the world, etc.
Um, I mean, I haven't made like crazy money yet. Um, like the most I ever made in a month with the personal brand and the business was like 25K profit.
Mm,
And that was like 1 month. But I would say, dude, honestly, like I used to look up to 10K per month. Like right when
mm,
I was starting, I was like, I got to get 10K per month. And then I hit it like a year later, just washing windows by myself. And then you keep looking higher, right? Like that's
mm,
human nature, is we always want more. Um, and so I think like if you're starting and you can understand that like the now is genuinely all you have, right?
mm,
That's all there is. There's future nows and past nows, but that's all there is. And so when you're really just like seeking more, like you're allowing your happiness to be dictated by a number that you're making or in your bank account,
mm.
you're not actually allowing yourself to be happy. So I think it's great to like set goals and have those numbers and like aspire to them. But like that's the biggest thing because when I hit 10K per month, it didn't feel special at all. Like genuinely, it's like I was waiting like a year to get there,
Oh,
and then I hit it, and it's like, all right, like what's
mm,
next? So that's the biggest thing I would say is like, don't rob your happiness.
yeah, yeah, interesting. It's also like the gym, right? You compare yourself to that big dude, and for example, I don't know. I started in the gym when I was fucking skinny fat 3 years ago. I
Hmm.
always wanted to have a six pack, and I always envied that. 2 years into the gym, it took me a while to lose 50 pounds, etc. But I got a six pack finally, and it's like I'm kind of used to it now. I wanna get even more jacked, And it's like
Yeah, of course.
when you do accomplish a certain goal, or getting my first making my first 10K online like as a whole. As soon
Hmm.
as you get that first goal, it doesn't really feel anything like special as you thought it would at the moment, which is
Totally.
crazy in my opinion. But back to the cleaning business, when you started, what were like your biggest mistakes in the beginning? Would you say?
Um, biggest mistake. I mean, it took me a whole year to buy a water fed pole. I don't know if you know what that is.
What's
This
that?
is like very niche to window cleaning, but it's like those machines that filter the water and like they have big brushes that go really high. It
Mm,
basically just makes the process like much faster and does a better
mm,
job. So I delayed that for too long. I should have bought it in my first year. If you can buy one, if you have like a K, just buy one right away.
mm.
Um, Other mistakes. One big mindset uh, kind of mistake that I would say I had. You hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that, bro. That's a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, bro. I can hear that
It
for real.
is. Is it? Yeah, that's like
It's
normal.
it's an
Like you're
SV
trying to
or
go
an
to sleep.
SVJ.
Okay. But yeah, one big mindset shift was to realize that, like, I used to think that if I hired someone, the quality of work would go down and that it wouldn't be good for the business. But you got to realize that if you actually want to grow the business, that you're not the best at everything. That there's people out there that can do a better job than you
Mm.
if you train them right. And so for me, like I was scared of hiring for a long time, and then I eventually hired, and it was the greatest decision that I made in my business.
Do you always want to have control over everything? Is that delegating tasks like is that the reason why a lot of people like even hesitate delegating tasks and they want to do it themselves even though it takes a lot of time?
Yeah, That's because people want it to be done like perfectly according to them. But a really good quote that I like of Dan Martell, I got his book right here. He's like a big like systems guy, and he says like this might be a little extreme, but he says 80% done by someone else is like 100% great. You know, if you
Mm,
can buy your time back, and it's maybe a bit less good, at least you're buying your time back, and then you can focus your attention on
mm,
bigger, higher leverage tasks as
yeah,
opposed to washing windows.
yeah, interesting. So after you start like growing the business a little bit, how
Mhm.
did you like get new clients? Like, did you start door knocking, then cold calling, etc.? Did you start doing those things or anything else?
I mean, we my second year we did like 100. I did 125 jobs. It was just me,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a lot of door knocking.
Mm,
And all those jobs, I was kind of starting to build up my Google My Business, so that jobs come to me. I was starting to build my Facebook and stuff like that. But I would say that was like 70% door knocking that second year, and then when we get reviews, it bumps us up on like the search on Google. And so the third year, it was like 50% from like Google and word of mouth and referrals and stuff like that, and then like 50 from door knocking.
mm. So
Yeah.
obviously, like door knocking is probably going to be harder than cold calling, right? Like I have my own experience with cold calling, and it was hard for me at the beginning. But door knocking is like the next level in person. Is that right?
You think? I don't know. I've
In
never
my
cold
opinion.
called.
Oh, okay. So I used to work for a
Actually, I've cold
marketing
called a few
agency.
times, but yeah.
Uh, worked for a marketing agency that it was commission based, bro. Cold calling, I was scared shitless of that. But I imagine that door knocking must be even worse, bro. So
You
I
get
got
really
used
used
to
to it.
that. But
Yeah.
what was like in the beginning? What did you even tell them? Like, do people get hostile when somebody knocks on their doors in Canada?
Sometimes, pretty rarely. Most
Mm.
people, like in Canada, people are really nice. So it's like no one's really slamming doors on your face unless you like really push. But we
Mm.
just tell them like we knock, we say, hey, how's it going? How's the day going? Hey, so sorry to bug you. Just stopping by because I'm working down the street for Bob.
Mm.
I'll show you what we're doing super quick, and then I got to run. Say, hey, we wash all the windows, the frames, and the sills, blah, 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 blah. Just because we're in the area today, Bob called us out this morning. He covered the transportation fee for like all of the neighbors. So we're
Mm.
just doing a bit of a deal. What I'm going to do is just have a quick walk around the home, come give you a quick price. And then you
Holy
walk
shit.
around. Yeah, walk around, come back, and then say something like, awesomeness. I love the patio, blah blah blah. Build a little bit of rapport, and then say like, hey, so a bit more about what we do. Re-explain the process. Keep building that value, and then I say something like, usually it's this much. Anchor the price super high, and then I say, because we're already here, we're knocking 50 or 100, whatever off. So it'd come down to boom. What we'll do for you too, as a courtesy, is we'll wash all your garage doors. Just have the whole place look amazing for you. You know,
Mm.
and then from there
Interesting.
you might get objections. Yeah,
Like, what type of rejections can you get for cleaning windows? What kind of objections can you get for that?
it's mostly price objections,
Oh,
or sometimes spouse objections.
sometimes what?
Spouse like husband or wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting. They have an yeah. That kind of makes sense to be honest.
yeah, of course.
So,
I mean, when you're paying like $300, sometimes like $500
mm,
for window washing, it's something you
mm,
usually want to run through the wife, right? But you can get over that.
yeah. So, what's like a sales lesson that you would give to yourself when you started? Because sales, I'm gonna ask this question. Some people say that sales is a natural skill. People are naturally good at sales, which I personally disagree with. Bro, I was shit at sales. I was shit, and it's not natural at all. Like I was reading books about sales, watching seminars, learning, experience, bro, failing, all of that. How do
Mhm.
you get better at sales?
You did get better?
Yeah, how do you get better at sales?
Oh,
I
how to
I,
get
I did
better?
get better, but yeah.
I mean, for me, it was probably just reps. Like
Mm,
I've sold over like probably over 500 jobs at the door. Um, that's like talking to thousands of people, and
mm,
then also like investing in education and reading books and stuff like that.
mm,
My I would say the book that gave me the most sauce on sales is it's not really directly a sales book, but a lot of the principles tie into sales, and it's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
mm.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but he's like a
No, I
negotiator,
haven't.
and it's a lot of just psychology stuff. Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Um, so what was like the hardest deal you had to close? Because I'm sure there was that one person who was really had a lot of objections.
Um, I mean, yeah, I've had people who've given me like probably 5+ no's, and often like the first one's just like I'm not interested. It's a smoke screen, and you might get another one before going to the backyard. And you go to the backyard, you come back with a price. They give you a
Mm.
price objection, then they give you a wife objection, and I don't know. But like actual deals, hardest actual deal to close, I can't pinpoint one.
Mm.
But yeah, a lot of objections.
So some people get discouraged by rejections.
Yeah.
Did it discourage you from the beginning? Did you ever like get pissed
Oh
off
yeah.
at getting rejected? Really?
Oh totally. When I was first starting, yeah, yeah. Like I would knock a few doors. I would get people, you know, saying like, "Hey, get out of here." No, we're not interested. We're not interested. Boom. And
Mm.
at the start, like when it was like my first, like right when I was starting to knock doors, I would let that kind of get in my head, um, and like kind of bring me down. And then I think the biggest mindset shift that you need to have door knocking, or one of them, is that you're really the service provider, and that by you
Mm.
going and talking to them and knocking on their door, you're doing them a favor,
Mm.
as opposed to you being needy and needing them and needing their sale. If you switch that mindset up, it's kind of your responsibility to go knock on the
Mm.
door, right?
Yeah. How do you retain a customer? How do you keep a customer coming back? Because I'm sure that maybe this has happened that you get a customer for the first time and then they don't come back. Why do you think that happens? And how do
Of
you
course,
retain a
yeah.
customer?
Um, well, first of all, like our one of our biggest core values at Arctic Shine, like the number one thing that we uh, put importance on is customer experience. So we want the whole experience to be the best as possible from the literally from the point where they reach out to us to after we get paid and send them a review request. Like it's that whole journey. Um, and so a big thing, a lot of communication with the client's really important. That's why like we have softwares. I don't know if you know Jobber, but we have a bunch of automations that work for the
Mm.
business, for reminders, for quote, like all that stuff. So yeah, honestly, retaining clients comes down to customer experience, I would say. Um, and then
Mm.
probably second is quality of work, because
Mm.
if you have a client that you do shitty work on, let's say, but they're really happy and they love the experience and they love the guys, they're going to come back to you, right? But if you have a client who you did really good on the windows, you spent like extra time, but they have a shitty experience, they're not going to come back, and they might leave you a 1-star review, right? So it's all about customer
Mm.
experience.
Yeah. How do you? Okay, some people separate it too, and I think you can do both at the same time. But how do you separate? How do you think big, but also be realistic at the same time? Now, some people I don't like the word realistic because realistically, you see people doing like things that you couldn't imagine possible. So,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you be realistic whilst also dreaming big and thinking big?
Um, I mean, I'm not honestly very realistic.
Mm,
Uh, and that's one thing that I need to get better at, is just thinking bigger. There's this whole
mm,
notion of like thinking bigger, and like what does it even mean?
mm,
Um, but I mean, I think if you have like an end goal or a vision or something you want to achieve, and you actually break it down into maybe milestones, and you break it down into like tasks, and like what are the actual logical inputs that are going to be required for you to do to get there.
Mm.
Even if it is like a 10x goal or whatever, it's unrealistic. I mean, there's no reason why you can't get there, right? Also, one thing too is that when you start thinking like way too big, like I'm saying too big, but like huge, like 10x, you instead of like for example, if I said this year like I want to 10x my business versus I want to 2x my business. If I said I want to 2x my business, I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. You know what I'm going to do though?
Mm.
I'm going to do double the amount, right?
Mm.
But if I say I want to 10x, dude, then you got to like look at all of the systems. I have to rethink everything, you know, and
Yeah.
like make a complete change. That might be less effort than doing twice as much, but you get way more returns, right? So I think that's one of the really powerful things about thinking big. That's like a lot of the principles from 2x is easy, or 10x is easier than 2x, is that it just makes you rethink the way you're doing stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
makes
something I'm
sense.
working on a lot right now. It's just like thinking bigger and
That
growing
makes a
my
lot of
vision.
sense, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people quit because they don't see results in whatever business they do. But why do you think people quit usually?
Um, like give me an example of someone quitting, like someone giving up.
Let's say somebody tries ecom, right? Buys a
Yeah.
course, then has like but pays a coach, whatever, but then doesn't make any money for the first 3 months. Then makes his first few $100, but after 6 months, he's maybe making $500 a month. He says, "Fuck this shit! I've been doing this for half a year," and quits. Why do you think people like don't see the bigger vision? Why do you think they quit?
Um, I mean, there it's probably honestly psychology stuff.
Ah,
Um, like I don't know, you have this vision of what you thought was going to happen, and you didn't really realize how much work it would require. You wanted them instant results, um,
mm,
and you don't get them obviously. There's, that's just not how it works. And then yeah, people quit. Same thing with like personal brand stuff. Like people expect themselves to post like one reel to blow up, but yeah, in reality, like I've helped a few guys just giving advice on personal branding, and the guy who did the best is the only guy who actually took my actual advice, which was post every single day. Don't miss a day.
mm,
You know? So it's all about like, dude, just keep doing the work.
mm.
Right. And
Did
also,
you ever think
like with
about
that
quitting?
being said, I think you kind of have to like detach yourself from the work, like emotionally. Like I remember when I was first
Mm,
starting, I started copywriting like way
mm,
back, like 3 years ago. And whenever I would do something like outreach or whatever, send emails to people, I was like I would kind of reward myself mentally, but like in reality, I think you just have to kind of like make the work normal, make it the norm
mm,
that you work this many hours or XYZ, right? And
mm.
emotionally detach yourself from like the implications of it.
Holy shit, that's a concept that I didn't really think about. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Did you ever think about quitting at any point? Did you ever feel like quitting?
of course, bro.
Mm.
Of course. I don't know. Like there's probably dozens of times where I let it, I'm thinking like, screw this, But
Mm.
and
How
I've
do
quit.
you
Like I quit
go ahead?
copywriting. I quit
Mm.
print on demand stuff. I quit my video agency. This is like all like 2 3 years ago. I
Mm.
quit. What else did I quit? I quit reselling skateboards.
Resell skateboards.
Dude, I did a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then honestly, for me, like the first thing that I saw like really quick results was window washing. So I never really
Mm.
had to push through like a time of like no results for months on end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of guys that do make their first 10K month, example for like that, they keep going up, but then they have a dip, and then
Okay.
they don't sustain the long term success. Why do you think that is? Why do you how do you avoid how people call it falling off? Is that within your control? I think it is, but how do you avoid um, dipping hard and never going back up?
I mean, I can't speak for this for myself,
Mm.
but by like the sounds of the question, probably sounds like some people get a lot of success and they kind of blow it. You know, they might buy
Mm,
a nice car or expensive clothes that are all kind of useless, and chances are that success is temporary. Um, so yeah, that's what I would probably guess is the case.
mm.
Yeah, does that make sense?
I mean, kind of, but
What do
basically,
you think?
what I was asking is like, how do you maintain the income? The, um,
I mean, you keep working. You know,
no.
you keep doing what you. Well, if you want to maintain your income, you keep doing what you did to get you to where you're at. If you want to
Mm,
increase it, then you essentially have to change your ways.
mm.
But you just don't fall off, I think. Unless you have like really good systems in place and a self managing company, then you can go do other stuff. But yeah, I don't
How
have
would you
that yet.
save?
For people listening, I'm
Uh,
still on the up. I'm trying to get there.
how how would you say you've changed in the last 3 years?
um, like in what aspects?
Okay, let's say you have a conversation with yourself from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What's like the main difference between you and him?
That's funny, bro. That's funny to think about. Cause I was a crash out back then. I don't know. Like back then, all I did was skateboard all day.
Mm,
I didn't really party a crazy amount, but I partied more back then than I do now. I would
mm,
probably say yo, bro, it's gonna take a while.
mm.
But like if you just keep putting the work in, everything's gonna work out. How it was meant to work out. And also, I was like, I'm still pretty immature, like to be honest. Like I don't take myself too seriously, but like back then, I was like very immature. Um, and I
Mm,
didn't really take things too seriously. I didn't take school seriously. Um, I didn't take my fitness, my health seriously. So I think I had that mindset shift kind of over these past couple years,
mm,
and also just a lot of maturity. Even though once again, I would consider myself very mature, maybe for my age, but the maturity that you gain from managing a team and from having guys and from the pressure that you have on yourself to keep
mm,
schedules full and stuff like that, I think that is very um, a lot of growth from there.
mm.
Yeah.
Why did you move to Miami?
So my one of my buddies, he was planning on moving here after he was a door knocker, so he sold alarms door to door, and he golden doored, and then his plan was just to move to Miami in the wintertime. And I spent the first kind of half of the winter traveling around, seeing family in France, New Zealand. I went to Asia a bit,
Mm,
and then I was like, hey, I got a couple months left before the business starts up again. Let's go to Miami.
mm.
And also just know about
Interesting.
Miami. Miami's like it's the spot to be if you're on the come up
Uh, what were your
and
like
if you're
first
young.
impressions in like the first week in Miami?
First week was it was like you see a lot of celebrities here, especially in Brickell,
Mm.
or just like gurus and shit like that, or social media people. And so the first week, just kind of seeing those people, I was like, oh, yo,
Mm.
like it's this person, and you kind of get accustomed to it. But yeah, the
uh,
first week was it was kind of a hit because it's so fast and
mm.
a lot of stuff going on. It's loud. It's very loud coming from a small town, so it's kind of just getting used to it. But then
Mm.
get into the
What,
flow,
what's
right?
your, what's your what's your long term vision?
All right. So what I want to do is I'm obviously in home services right now. I want to build my company and really get very strong systems in place. This is my long-term vision for now. It's probably going to change or vary, but I want to really build out my company and all the systems, get them all in place. And then after that, I want to start. I want to start buying companies because there's going to be a lot of
Mm,
businesses that go up for sale in these next like 5 to 10 years, and no one wants to work. And a lot of these businesses are owned by boomers, and
mm,
so a lot of them aren't using technology as they could be to run their business. A lot of them are not optimized, and so I think if I can optimize mine and really build it out, and then I can start buying other people's businesses, going in them, fixing them, and just building the portfolio. I also want to do real estate development, um,
mm.
like maybe build retirement villages. That's like a really good model because you basically keep all the equity in the buildings, but you still get paid by the people who are staying at them. And then like long, I'm very like big buildings. They fascinate me. You know,
Mm.
like how these big buildings are built and how they stay up and stuff like that, and how heavy they are, and just
Mm.
a bunch of stuff like that. And so maybe down the line I'll build big buildings. We'll see.
Mm.
And I
And
also want
that's
to build an agency for home service businesses where we handle like the
mm.
whole back end of companies. So all of their sales, all their marketing, all of their customer support, all that stuff, their social medias, while they so that the owner only really has to focus on the actual operations and we take care of the whole rest. So that's something else. That's more short term though, but I
You
want to
know,
build that up.
there's probably gonna be a clip of this in like 10 years, bro.
Yeah.
Literally, like all of the stuff you mentioned will happen.
Put it out there, right?
Oh, like man, bro, you're literally gotta did basically do something that the majority of 19-year-olds, bro, will never do. So that's like incredible. Well,
Appreciate
let's
you,
get
man.
into some
What's your
rapid fire
vision though?
questions. My. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to grow the podcast, obviously. I'm
Yeah.
moving to Romania this year, this summer. So right now I'm getting my
Okay.
driver's license and I'm moving there all by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm moving to a new country all by myself. I'm looking forward to
Cool.
that. Probably get the probably get like 10, 15K a month before I can move out of Europe. Probably to
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the US. I definitely want to be in the US. I want to leave Europe for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure where in the US I would go, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, I would have to think really hard about that, man. But yeah, there are a couple of ideas.
Are you
But
done high
anyways,
school?
no, I left high school when I was 16.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah, so you're just a
I was
full time
already making
grinder.
like basically what my teacher was making at the time, so I
Really?
decided to just leave. Yeah,
That's crazy.
so I decided to leave last year. I do not regret that. Ever since then, I've probably doubled my income, and I got into crypto, and I
Yeah.
done so much more ever since I left high school, and I have more time. So that's why I'm glad I left.
I love that,
Um,
bro.
so I probably moved to like, firstly to Romania, spend a few months there, and then move to America as soon as I'll have enough money and I'll know some people there, etc.
Hmm.
But I got no idea which city would I move to. And
Yeah.
then obviously grow the podcast, grow in crypto, launch a few more meme coins, a lot of more tokens, work with some bigger people.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm working with people like Ali Ibrahim and a couple of some crypto people.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm trying to grow in crypto and in the content creation, self improvement space, and the
Yeah.
podcast, etc. So that's my vision for the next couple of years. But obviously, I do want to get into real estate too. Like real estate really fascinates me, man.
That's
Honestly,
like a long term play, you know?
yeah,
I
that's a long
think
term play.
long term
And
well.
honestly, I don't even want to think what I'm gonna do 10 years from now because I know that I changed so much ever since was 15. That
Hmm.
bro, I'm gonna change so much. I'm gonna change
Hmm.
my plans so much that I'm focused on the next couple of years, getting to 30K a month, getting to 50K a month. That's like my next 5 year plan. That's like what I'm gonna be focusing at. I'm not focusing on becoming a millionaire by 22 because that's like I'm gonna change by then. I'm gonna have completely new plans how I want to do that. So I don't want to focus on that. I wanted to get in some rapid fire questions before we wrap up.
Sure.
So you
Like
ready?
one sentence answer.
Yeah. What do your haters say if you have any?
Um, yeah, they're mostly just social media haters. I've got a couple hometown haters.
Uh,
They don't say much like to me, but just hate comments, normal stuff.
mm.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you've been given?
For business,
In general, life advice, business advice, up to you.
I would say, to be honest, this is kind of cliche, but just like do whatever you want. Like follow your dreams, you know? Don't
Ah,
let what anyone else thinks or wants for you to change what you want to do. And whatever you want to do,
mm,
just do it.
100%. What's the worst advice you've been given? Somebody like giving you bad advice.
Don't take risks. I've got like
Mm,
family members, not direct, but who are like, isn't that a big risk? Oh, you're moving to Miami, you're gonna be spending this much a month, blah blah blah.
mm,
It's like, no, I don't really care. I'm 19 years old. I could
mm,
lose everything I have right now, and I'd be fine, right? So just take
mm.
risks.
Yeah.
Because the
Do
biggest
you
risk,
have a
the bigger
favorite?
the risk you take, the bigger, right? The bigger the reward.
Mm, yeah. The bigger the risk, the bigger the opportunity, to be honest. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're young and you don't have kids, like, you literally don't have anything to lose. So it's like, in my opinion.
hmm
Do you have a favorite quote?
Um. No,
Mm.
I don't.
Is read is reading a waste of time?
uh, Depends what you're focused on. You know, if
Mm.
reading whatever book or whatever you're reading aligns with what you want to get to, well, then of course not. But if you're at a stage where you just need to execute and you're reading some book about whatever that has nothing to do with it, even if it's a business book or whatever, then yeah, it's a waste of time. So I think it's
Mm.
conditional.
What was
But I
your
think
best
overall reading's
purchase?
great. And also you can look at reading as not necessarily just getting the knowledge, but as
Mm.
somewhat of a meditation, right? Like when I read,
Mm.
I shut everything off and it's kind of like a no distractions moment. It's almost like
Mm.
meditating.
What was your best purchase?
Water fed pole. First water fed pole that I bought. Yeah.
uh,
Those things have
what was?
generated us. Oh, well,
Uh,
actually, it was probably buying all of the equipment off a business in town who was selling
mm.
their stuff. Bought it for like 8K. Came with 2 tanks, bunch of other stuff. The value of the actual equipment was less than what I bought it from for, but it came with a bunch, like not actually contracts, but a bunch of clients. And yeah, it was a big
Mm.
risk for me back then. Like I was 17, I think. Yeah, I was 17 years old, and I was like, I had like maybe 10K in my bank account that I had saved up from window washing. I was like, fuck it,
Mm.
let's just drop 8K
Mm.
on this and see what happens.
What was your worst purchase?
Worst purchase, probably
Uh.
candy, something like that. You know, stupid shit.
uh, what
Paying
was the
money for like level ups in video games,
nah?
you know, just
Yeah.
stupid stuff.
What was your proudest moment in your life?
Proudest moment in my life. Um, I would probably say like 3 weeks ago when I ran a marathon. Like that
Really?
was yeah, it was possibly the hardest thing that I've ever done physically. Like my legs were in knots, genuinely. And then from there, that affects your mental. And so it turns it
Mm.
into like Loki a mental battle. And like 20 miles in, I just like collapsed. Like my legs just stopped working. I had to take a break and then get back. So that was definitely. And then we ended up finishing it. So that was a
Mm.
big moment.
You think you'll ever do it again?
Of course.
Mm. Is
Yeah.
failure a bad thing?
No, not at all.
You can learn
With
a lot from
every
failures, in my opinion.
yeah, with every failure comes an equal opportunity, right? With the equal size, kind of like the risk thing.
Yeah. How would you describe yourself in, let's say, 2 words?
Um, 2 words to describe myself. I would say hungry
Mm.
and I'll just say hungry. Honestly,
Mm,
I'll just give it one word. Ambition.
good shit.
Just trying to run it up, get better.
Yeah. So what's next for you, man?
Next for me is
Mm,
to get the business going in about a month or so. I'm going to place managers and leaders in the business um,
mm,
that are going to be leading the business so that I can start to kind of detach myself. Um,
mm.
so that's going to be the Arctic Shine. And then I'm moving to a different city kind of part time. And I want to just really build out this agency and try and get
Mm.
window cleaning businesses as many jobs as possible booked in their schedules with the least hassle so that they can just focus on what they're good at,
Yep.
which is
So
washing
where can
windows.
people find you, man?
Instagram, the Louis Mouchet. TikTok, Louis Mouchet. Don't follow me on TikTok. Um, but yeah, I don't really, I post on there, but there's no interaction. And then YouTube, I'm pretty sure it's the Louis Mouchet too. That's more like value. But yeah, that's the overview.
Yep. Okay. Guys, thanks a lot for watching till the end. This was an amazing talk. Thanks for taking time out of your day for this. And
Thank
guys,
you, man.
see you all on the next one.
Appreciate you, bro.